Last week, we were invited down to London by Claymore Games Studios and Calypso to check out Commando's Origins, as we are only 4 weeks away from launch at that point. It was interesting to see as we'd seen it back at Gamescom. However, our interview from then had bad audio, it wasn't up to scratch, and so we just didn't post it. Of course, you're going to see that footage peppered in here like shrapnel from a grenade, so if you're wondering what's going on with there being 2 kinds of footage, that's where that comes from. It's from August last year. Look how young and carefree we look. It's great. Moving forward, 4 weeks from launch, we got to check out the game, we got to talk to some of the developers, and it was an interesting event. And I'm not going to blow smoke. I'm not going to tell you that I live and bleed Commandos, that I have a green beret tattoo, and I can remember every level from my photographic memory. I can't. I have vague memories of some of the levels, and that's about it. I remember that I played the originals. I remember that I owned a copy of Commandos Behind Enemy Lines. I'm pretty sure I could still find it. I mean, it only came out 27 years ago? Wait, that can't be right. Wait, why does my back hurt? You see, Commandos Behind Enemy Lines was one of the first games that I played on my own terms, away from the family computer on my own machine. It was something that I found a copy of at a charity event for something or other, and I picked it up for a few quid. I thought it looked neat. The cover really sells it. And then I spent hours upon hours trying to figure out how not to die while angry Germans yelled at me. He told me all the German I needed to know to survive, if that German was when I'd set off an alarm, or when they were yelling attention to get backup to come and shoot me. Talking to studio director Jürgen, I'm going to butcher this last name, I apologize, Rusvig, about the upcoming game. There was excitement in his voice about being this close to release, and finally getting to see what people's reactions are when they get hands-on with it. We spoke about how fitting it was for a new studio just starting at its origin point to be making a game about this franchise's origin. We talked about the other ideas that they had played with that didn't make it, such as aged commandos hanging out in Argentina, and that didn't feel right, or why a remake and a remaster just wasn't the time or place. That it was their origin, it made sense to make an origin for the Commandos based on the fact that some of these lore pieces of information had only been posted on fan wikis. There was no in-game thing for it, and so they wanted to make one of those. It was great to get some insight into the design approach of the game as well. We got to talk about the fundamentals of what makes a Commandos game, what those core pillars are, and had conversations about the viewpoint functionality and detection, which I wasn't expecting, because nailing those is what's key to making the game have the correct level of tension building and balance that Commandos players are going to be expecting. I also didn't know that those systems were as complicated as they were to design until we had this conversation, which was really eye-opening to me. We got to talk about the historical accuracy of games like this, and how the devs are huge fans of this kind of era and military weapons, and the areas that they went to, the pictures they took, the people they talked to, and how some of this knowledge was just from their personal lives because they were fans of this kind of thing, and that really helps with building this. And of course, that's important. You've got to get that historical accuracy right, because those little details are going to matter, and it helps build a solid foundation to make this game on. There's a lot of nostalgia flying around with remakes and remasters recently. Commandos deserves its share of that, why not? And while of course you can't judge a game by a 30-minute play session, what we saw did leave us looking forward to more, and I think that's always the intent. Let loose with the game, we were able to pick and choose which of the 14 missions we wanted to take on. And we went with the one that we had been shown at Gamescom, because it was just easier for us. This footage is not that. This footage is straight up better than our performance, and it's on a different map. This is the tutorial map that we're showing here, because that's the magic of B-roll, baby. They know what they're doing, and they don't die every 3 minutes like we did. So we chose to stick with the radar map, and then we failed it many times. Because these aren't easy levels, even if some players are going to breeze through them with no issue and just click, bang, know what they're doing. Planning, preparation, patrol routes are all going to be key. They're all going to be important, and all of those, as well as the kit of equipment that you have, are the tools at your disposal that are going to keep your commandos alive. Speaking of, the commando mode allows you to utilize giving those commandos multiple instructions at the same time and hitting a button and having them execute that plan that you have just laid out. And that helps when taking out multiple people or taking out a group of soldiers and you need all of them to go down on your mark, otherwise someone is hitting that alarm. Of course, even if that is going to be the key to succeeding, don't forget, you need to check patrol route. There were several times during our short play session where we thought we had executed a plan perfectly. We had the bodies over our shoulders and everything was going well, and then a guard walked around the corner, saw us, set off the alarm, and we got gunned down. It's hard to say if two games played over 20 years apart feel the same. You can't do it. Even if I loaded up Commandos now, it wouldn't replicate the feeling that I had back then, because I've played so many games in the interim. Games that have taken those ideas and tweaked them in different ways, or evolved them, or changed them. It's going to change how you see those systems, how you see those games. It can't replicate it. But what we got to play through last week brought back memories of the original game. It brought back memories in my head of lighthouse levels and zoos, and the panic of getting caught. The puzzle of trying to figure out how exactly you were going to take out so many guys when you only have 3, 4, 5, 6 soldiers, and they have 60, 70, 80 armed, angry men waiting to shoot you down. I don't think it's going to blow anyone away with revolutionary ideas, but I don't think Commandos Origins needs to. I think it's looking to create a faithful addition to a franchise. And as a fan of a few smaller franchises that I would love to see get new entries or be given a little love, I think that's perfectly acceptable. I think that's an okay way of doing it. There's more that I'd like to see with Commandos, and I would love to spend more time with it, because it's always infuriating when you only get to see a small vertical slice of something. You can't make a big grand opinion of it, and yet sometimes people expect you to, or some people missell you and be like, this is the greatest game I've ever seen. And of course, a game like this, where difficulty is going to be the key deciding factor, because it was back then, and it needs to be now, you could end up with a game that feels infuriating, or a game that feels satisfying when those puzzle pieces click into place and you see everything fall down as you execute that plan. In time, we'll know the answer to the question of whether or not this is a good game. For now, though, it's great to see how things are going under the hood. It's always great to see these preview events and be shown how games are coming along. It's really interesting to be able to talk to devs about their process and their passion for a series. We'll have something more concise, and we'll have something filled with our own footage of failure at a later date, and I'm sure it'll be very enjoyable to watch us die over and over, or I will spend 3 days playing the game and I will show only success, and I'll brag about it the whole time. But until then, if you're a Commandos fan and you knew this game was coming, feel free to ask questions below. We'll try to answer some of them. We weren't able to put everything in this video, of course. If you were a fan and you didn't know this game was coming, hey, we've just given you a happy surprise. And if you're a fan of the genre and you had no idea about this, or you're young enough that your knees don't hurt, then Commandos is cool, and you should probably check it out. Oh yeah, and it's on Game Pass, which means for you, it's even easier to check it out, as that kind of lowers that barrier of entry. The script here says that's it, that's the end of the video, short one, but this was 10 minutes long, so I guess that's it. Average length one, because I talk too much. If you have any questions or anything, you know, you can just leave them down below, as I mentioned. Otherwise, bye.